So we have been studying the sixth Anuvaka of Chamaka Prashna. So we looked at the etymology of the word Indra as the one who says Idam Dra, I saw this, I saw this. So he goes through the various entities and he says, I saw this, I saw this. So whenever, as soon as you say, I saw this, it means you have transcended it. That's the meaning of saying, I saw that. Because when do you say, I saw that? I don't have to go again, because you already seen that exhaustively. So the various number of deities are being listed here. 20 deities to be exact are listed here. So in the Vedic view, the universe is actually populated by both benevolent and malevolent supernatural beings. So we will see in Puranas many a time a benevolent deity also becomes malevolent. We have examples like Indra, who at some times he will display that he is very, very committed to dharma. At another place he will flout the same dharma. So therefore we have got to identify the characteristic of an entity and not the entity itself. Another important thing. So at any given moment of time, a person, whether he is an earthly person or a heavenly person, when he is displaying the Indra's guna, then that person becomes Indra. That means you don't get a title, you don't get a name, and then whatever you do from then on, you can hang on and hold on to that name. So therefore a person can be kept in grace, or he can fall in grace. One important thing to note. This has to be noted, because otherwise, why is it that the deities being worshipped at various points of time in our religious history, they have changed? You won't be able to explain that, isn't it? Why Indra, Varuna, Mitra and those people who were very, very popular, without oblations for them, no yajna is complete. Now we don't even do anything for them. We don't have temples for them. We don't have any... Of course, in yajna rituals, there is some Indraya Swaha, Varunaya Swaha is there. But how many people are doing yajna? Most 99% of the people go to a temple and they see only Krishna, Rama, Venkateshwara, right? And who were not in the Vedic pantheon at all. So, therefore, we have to acknowledge that at any given moment of time, we can organize and reorganize, give relative importance to one or the other deity. This is what the Veda has done. This is exactly why we have an episode in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. For those of you who would like to refer, it is in the verse number 3, 9, mantras 1 and 2. In that area, in the Janaka's court, Yajnavalkya is being questioned. So one of the questions that is asked to Yajnavalkya is, how many gods are there? So you will see that Yajnavalkya gives different numbers, all kinds of numbers he will give, and then finally he says 1, and then he changes his mind. He settles at 33. He says 3, he says 33,000, he will say give all kinds of numbers, and then of course he will justify. He will give all kinds of numbers and finally says, okay, 33. So we will end the conversation. So what does that tell us? That tells us we can create any number of the deities in our pantheon. But then that must be done with reference to some order. So how can we order that? You remember when I started commenting on this, I divided the order into 5 kinds. That is Jyotir Devatas, Jnana Devatas, elemental and natural devatas, Antariksha and Dig Devatas, and the creative devatas. Now let us look at another formation. because you can look at these devatas in different formations. Each one of the formations will make sense both religiously and spiritually. But that there also we have to exercise certain disciplines. So let us look at another one. So in this Anuvaka, we see that one Devata is coupled with Indra, second Devata coupled with Indra, but every Devata also can morph. For example, Chandra morphs into Soma. If you look at classical Sanskrit, Soma and Chandra, these two names are used synonymously. Soma is also the name of Shiva, isn't it? So therefore, is Chandra Soma or Shiva, or who is this? Contextual. When Chandra gives a lot of pleasure to your mind, then he is Shiva, because he gives you auspiciousness. So Chandra can become Soma. Now this Soma, this same Soma can become Agni. This Agni can become Surya. Because if you look at Soma, that is Chandra, as the one who is giving light, then light gets associated with Agni. Because Agni has got two characteristics, light and heat. And then this same Agni, if you look at light and heat, he can become Surya. So who is he? Now, who is he means he is everybody. Otherwise, we cannot justify the Vedic dictum, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. There is only one reality, sages call it with many names. How do you prove that? You prove that by taking one entity and giving it multiple names. So, but what are the rules that we have to observe? There are certain rules. You cannot simply randomly shuffle. The rules are they must occupy a hierarchical order, a hierarchical conceptual order. They must follow. So if you look at my earlier classification of the Devatas, you will see an order. Now another order we can do is all the Devatas can be classified as Bhuhu, terrestrial Devatas, Bhuvaha, atmospheric Devatas, Suvaha, the sky or heavenly Devatas. Why should I do that? It is because the Gayatri Mantra says you have to use Bhur Bhuva Swaha to transcend Bhur Bhuva Swaha and go to the higher realms. So you have got to take the favor and the grace and the blessing of the Devatas that are there in each one of these levels. Without the Bhu level Devatas blessing, how can we go to the next step? So therefore we worship Bhu Devatas. And then who are the Bhu Devatas? We will see in a minute. These Bhu Devatas, Bhuvar Devatas, Suvar Devatas, Surloka Devatas, also we can call as the sky gods, are the Dyav, Varuna, starts getting important. Why does Varuna get importance here? Because he is the Lord of righteousness, called Ritam. So therefore, you will see that even though Varuna per se has lost much importance in our temple worship, but a lot of Varuna iconography is there in the temples. Pretty much you cannot have any temple which has got iconography. Somewhere or the other there will always be a Varuna carving. How do you recognize a Varuna? First of all, he will be riding a crocodile. That's why it's called Makaravahana. He will be riding a crocodile. and he will be having a noose in his hand. It is called Varuna Pasha. So it is with that Pasha or the noose, he makes us obey the cosmic law. Not just us, he will make the entire cosmos obey the cosmic law. The sun has to rise in the east. The sun has to give light. Tomorrow he cannot decide, no, I am going to do something else. He has to do it, yes. No, the rita of the cloud is to obscure the sun. So therefore, each one of them will have to conduct according to rita. That is why Varuna becomes a Svargaloka Devata, and then Varuna gets a companion called Mitra, then he gets another companion called Pushan, and he gets one who pervades the entire universe called Vishnu. So now you can see, take the same 20 and reclassify them as Svargaloka Devatas, Bhuvarloka Devatas. In Bhuvarloka Devatas, now for a minute, we will take one of the Indras in these 20 formations and we will take him as a warrior Indra, who will come with the Vajrayuda and then who will give us rain. This is other than the Idamdra. Idamdra, this I saw, is told by the devotee. But this Indra is the deity. Then you have the Vayu also, who is in the atmosphere, obviously. And then you have the storm gods called Maruts. You would have noticed that not one storm is the same as the other. Each storm has got its own different clap of thunder. It occurs at a different direction. Its loudness or otherwise is different. That's why the Bhagavata and other texts identify there are 49 Maruts. I can give you the list also. So these 49 Maruts were there, and all of them Marutas Chame as part of this mantra. Then you have got Rudra as the terrible. And now we come to Bhudevatas. Bhudevatas starting with the plant god Soma. Now, Somaschama Indraschame, here we are talking about one who nourishes the plants, one who gives the Oshade Vanaspati. And then with the fire is also, Agni is also of the earthly Devata. And then Brihaspati now in this arrangement will become a priestly god of creative power, and he becomes a Bhugaloka Devata. And rightly so, because Brihaspati is also a teacher. Now, if a teacher is somewhere in the heaven, what happens to us who want to learn? And therefore, we want the teacher to be a terrestrial god. And so, Brihaspati is brought down to the earth. So, the central point here is that depending on the purpose for which you are doing the yajna, you can use these 20 deities. You are not limited to these 20 deities, but you can use these 20 deities and format them as you want for the sake of a yajna, for the sake of worship, so that you get the desired outcome. For instance, Ashwini Devatas, at one point of time, they are the... Are they of the nose or the ear? I'll remember in a second. They can also become the gods of good fortune, and they can also become of health. So this is how the study of the Devatas becomes so fascinating, where we use sometimes we use this for the same person, we give different characteristics. Where do we do that? In Ashtotara, in Sahasranama, we have got one deity to be worshipped. You get 100 characteristics, 1000 characteristics. Now what you are doing is, you use the characteristic and then just map a deity on top of that. So there are two techniques that are used in our Vedic wisdom for your meditation. In both of them, what is the focus? The focus is not in name or form. The focus is not Nama Rupa, but the focus is on the essence or the Tattva. That's what we are driving at. This has got profound influence on our attitudes, on religious attitudes. Because in religious attitudes, we see a lot of people saying, I don't want even to say the name of Shiva. Isn't it? If I say the name of Shiva, something terrible is going to happen to me. I'll go and wash my mouth. And there are people who will say the same thing about Vishnu also. Now you can see how much of ajnana is there in people who conduct themselves like that. And Veda time and again points out neither the name nor the characteristics are coupled and combined eternally. All those things are only tools for you to know the essence. And this is why the mantra is there, Shivasya Hridayam Vishnu, Vishnoscha Hridayam Shivaha, Yatha Shivamayo Vishnu, Evam Vishnumaya Shivaha, Yatha Antaram Napashyami. Just as I don't see any difference, Tatha me swasti rayushi. You are declaring that you don't see the difference. Why is it you don't see the difference? Why is it we don't care about which deity, which particular devata is popular or not popular? Why is it we don't care? Because we care for the tattva and not for the name and form. Of course, name and form has their reason. This is why I closed last week by asking, what is the difference between japa and dhyana? So the difference between japa and dhyana is, in japa, you take a mantra and then you go on repeating that mantra, understanding its meaning so that it etches into your chitta, into your, not just memory. It must become our samskara so that it can be carried over to even our future births. Till such time it must be repeated. And such a repetition is called japa, whereas dhyana, the question of dhyana is interiorization. So in meditation or in dhyana, it is not repetition. It is the various deities, just as I did now. You take the various deities and in your dhyana, what you should do is each value you impose on the different name and form. That's how we do dhyana. And then we say that Indra can be Vishnu, Indra can be Shiva. When Indra is displaying an auspicious characteristic, then he becomes Shiva. When Indra is displaying a characteristic of anger and aggression, then he becomes Rudra. So like that we have got to do dhyana. Then what happens is all these names and forms will merge, will completely merge into one state. And that one state is Gamagamastham Gaganadeshunyam Chidrupadipam Timirapaharam Pashyamite Sarvajanantarastham. Which is there, just now we studied that. To that level, a person will go. So when you go there, each one of the deity, for the sake of the japa and for the sake of the interiorization called dhyana, you can decide how many times you want to do. So that is why when somebody recommends that you should do a japa for 21 times, Mahamrityunjaya japa you do 21 times, you do this japa for 108 times, Gayatri japa for 108 times, do Gayatri japa for 24,000 times, It is the Guru customizing the number of times I should repeat, looking at my characteristic. This is also why we cannot simply generalize everybody do 21 Gayatri Japas or 21 Mahamrityunjaya Japas. It depends on how much of the Vasana and the Samskaras have got to get cleansed. So when this interiorization takes place, then what will happen? As the Kaushitaki Upanishad, the 3rd chapter, 2nd mantra, it tells us what happens in interiorization. Manasa dhyanam iti ekabhoyam vai prana. When you are doing this manasa dhyana, then Agni becomes your prana, Indra becomes your prana, Soma becomes your prana, Savitru becomes your prana, and then my prana becomes their prana. This is the only methodology by which I can shed my attachment to my name and form. Otherwise, how can I shed my attachment to myself? This manasa dhyana, this prana, then this kind of dhyana of this anuvaka, what it does is, ultimately it will take you Bruhaspatescha ma indrascha prajapatescha ma indrascha me. What is the last mantra? Prajapatescha ma indrascha me. Who is Prajapati? Prajapati is that deity which includes all the prajas in him. That means the entire creation is him. And you go there and what do you say? Idam dra. I have now discovered that my prana is none other than the prana of this Prajapati, who is the prana of every single living entity inside the universe, and therefore everybody's prana is my prana and my prana is everybody's prana. This is called Sarvadarshitvam. So this Anuvaka will take you to that stage of Sarvadarshitvam. We will continue in the next class.